You know, Hannah and I bought this table out of Utah, Alabama, back about a year before we got married. We were engaged, but we were still in the process of trying to figure out the nitty-gritty details. But something that we knew was absolutely important to us was to have a place for our family to congregate. We didn't know how big that family might be. We didn't know where this table was going to go. In fact, we didn't even know if we could make this table work, because when we bought it, it only had 2 legs. Hannah's parents, as a wedding gift to us, had the other 4 legs made and had the table refinished. And it's been with us now for over 25 years as a constant part of our family. In fact, this table was the centerpiece of our outdoor wedding, and it has moved with us at every house we've ever moved to. It'll seat 16 people. And so it's not just a place where our family congregates, but also friends too. And so let me just say, as we start this It's Sunday morning, that some Sunday mornings I sit out here at this table and prepare for Sunday school. Other mornings, Hannah and I might sit out here and eat breakfast. But this table has a lot of miles on it, but they weren't always easy miles, and it wasn't easy to get here. So It's Sunday morning is going to center around this table today. We paid $75 for this table back in 1997 or 98. I don't remember the exact year, but I do know that Hannah found it in the second story of a store, an old general store, in downtown Utah, Alabama. Now, Utah is over in the Black Belt, and it's one of those towns that has, through the last 200 years, not changed very much. But that particular store used to be a general store. In fact, somewhere we have a picture of this table in that store with bags of flour and ground cornmeal and all sorts of other commodities stacked up as high as you could see in the top of the picture. No doubt this table could tell a lot of stories itself, because it's gone through many transformations. When we found it, it was in the storage room in the upstairs of the abandoned and almost derelict building. It had a twist in it to where one leg on a corner, this corner right here, was still good, and another leg on another corner at the other end was still good, and all the other legs were missing. And it caused the table to warp. The table itself probably weighs 300 pounds, and Hannah and I, along with her landlord and our longtime friend, Mr. Mickey, we guided it down the steps of that old general store and out the front door and loaded it onto a trailer that we had borrowed to haul it with. Since then, this table has been a lot of hard work. We had to unload it, take it to the man that refinished it and built the new legs, and then reload it and haul it to the wedding site, and then reload it again and haul it to our first house. And ever since then, every time we've moved this table with us. Also, sitting at this table has not always been easy. There have been plenty of times where we planned family meals and there has been a disruption. Perhaps a call from work for me, or a distraction for one of the girls by a friend wanting them to come over early, or maybe even ball practice. The point I'm trying to make is this, is that we've had a lot of great enjoyment and made a lot of great memories sitting at this table, but we had to put in the work. You know, I hear often parents and grandparents talk of the very many things that pull their family apart. And I just want to challenge you, friends, that at some point you have to just take a stand. At some point you have to say no phones on the table. At some point you have to say, we are going to eat one meal a day together. At some point you have to insist that nothing will interfere with that precious time. And I will tell you that as much as I'd like to sit here and say to you that we have absolutely obeyed that premise, we have not. Because the reality is sometimes life gets really complicated. Sometimes the band director says you can't miss band practice or you can't be late. Sometimes there's an awards banquet. Sometimes there's some other obligation that just absolutely cannot be missed. And I understand that. But you can't start with the idea that I hope we get to have a family night meal sometime. Instead, you have to start with the idea that we are going to have a family night meal, and therefore the expectation is that everybody will be there. And I've always found that if everybody understands the expectations, they'll do their bottom dollar best to meet them, and it always works out pretty good. You know, it's hard to get families together, I know that. And oh look, Bambi's coming to say, hey, she even wants to be seated at the table with us. It's hard to get families together, but it's important. In my line of work, I'm a district attorney and I prosecute all manner of misdemeanor and felony offenses, and all too often I see young men and young women who have found themselves in the clutches of the criminal justice system, mostly because of absentee parents. You know, I understand and I appreciate the fact that single moms, they truly are one of the unsung heroes of today, and I understand and I appreciate the fact that they have a difficult road. Those men, those dads who have checked out on their families, I pray for them. I pray that they'll reunite. I pray that they'll restore themselves to their rightful place as father and as husband. And so I understand that sometimes it's tough. But I can tell you this, all too often, those young people that I deal with, they're there because a dad checked out on them. Or maybe sometimes because of mom. I can't think of a better way to combat that effort than to have family time, dedicated family time. You know, just like you and I, we have dedicated family time with the Father. I get up every morning and I pray. I pray every night before I go to bed, and oftentimes during the day I'll sit right at my desk or be driving down the road and I'll be praying. It's funny how, depending on how bad the day gets, depends on how much we reach out for help, isn't it? Well, we have to make ourselves available to our kids, and we also have to make ourselves available on our kids. Here's what I mean. One of my daughters, and I'm not going to name her, but one of my daughters is more distant to me than the others, but I still try to insist on us having time together. We still insist that we sit down at a table every night and eat together, and so I make myself available on her. In other words, I make myself present, and whether she opens up or says anything or engages in conversation is up to her. But I'll also say that I make myself available for my other daughters and for her as well. You know, I'm not going to force myself on any of the girls when it comes to relationship or engagement, but I always want to be there when they need me. And especially Hannah, she is so good at that. She's so good at that part of being a mother and having that relationship, and she's good to listen to the girls' needs. Lots of times I miss things that are obvious because I'm just a dumb dad, right? But it's important that we have that time dedicated and intentional so that we can make ourselves available for them and to them. There's a great proverb that says, better is a dinner of herbs where love is than a fatted ox and hatred with it. And I pray and I think about those of you who might be going to have Sunday lunch today by yourself. Just know, though, that there's still love at your table, too. The Father's there with you, and you got folks around you that love you, even though they may not be able to be with you. But make yourself available. Be intentional. Pick up the phone and call them and invite them to Sunday dinner with you. And just share your table, even if it's just for coffee and cookies, or better yet, milk and Oreos, right? Hannah's mother and father, George and Brenda, they were so good for years, and still are, to invite people to eat with them on Sunday after church. And it would always be somebody different, and it was always somebody diverse. And so you got to know people in a new and exciting and different way and build new relationships. But at the same time, they always invited us. And so they were always making themselves available for us too. You know, Jesus at the Last Supper, Judas was there. He invited Judas to join him in that meal. So was Peter. And Peter, you'll remember, is the guy who consistently messed up. So was John, who described himself as the disciple that Jesus loved. And so Jesus had everybody at the table with him. And so should we. You know, I just want to challenge you. I know life is busy. I know there's lots of distractions. I know there's lots of reasons not to dedicate this family time at the table, but I just want to challenge you. One meal, one time a day with family at the table. Be intentional. Make it purposeful. And I promise you this, if you do that, you'll find that good fruit grows from it. And the meals that you eat will be oh so sweet. Hey, I hope you have a great day this Sunday morning. I hope you enjoyed this devotional time that we've spent together. Be sure to go to shepherdingbook.com if you haven't already ordered your copy of It's Sunday Morning, and pick it up there, and maybe even pick a copy up for a friend or a family member. It's a great devotional for senior adults, but it also works well for men and women of all ages. And so I think you'll really enjoy it if you haven't already got a copy. shepherdingbook.com. I love y'all. It's Sunday morning.